Welcome to A Plus Health Life channel. We discuss the ways to fulfill your life with more quality and inform you on ways to get to your life goals with less effort. Please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Top 10 Best Countries to Meet Beautiful Women. Top 10 Countries to Meet Beautiful Women. First of all, these are just my opinions and I recommend traveling and doing your own research, and please leave some of your own opinions in a comment down below because I'm sure there will be some countries that are great that just didn't make my list. So let's get started. Japan. I spent about 6 weeks in Japan, and although women are extremely shy and reserved at first, they are also extremely attractive and dress sexy as hell. Mostly short skirts and school attire even in the colder months. The women are also very educated, but the language barrier can be a problem, not because they don't speak any English but because they are often too embarrassed to try. The women are also very submissive to their men and are expected to submit to male authority. Now if you are a confident guy, then you will kill it there because the local men are often too lazy and shy to approach women. In fact, the birth rate has been decreasing because less and fewer couples are having children. The same is true in Singapore, which I think is almost a tie with Japan for beautiful women. In fact, Josiah and I once coached a class of 17 single women there, and they all agreed that local men are too afraid to make the move. So if you strike up a conversation and are bold enough to make a move, then you will do great in Japan. Brazil. I spent 3 weeks in Rio and absolutely loved it. Not only are the beaches there amazing, but so are the women. Brazilians are well known for their love of sexy dance and wild festivals. The most famous is Carnival, or as I like to call it, the Make-Out Festival. You can easily make out with 10 girls in one day. It's normal in Brazilian culture to be close and affectionate, and kissing is no big deal. Kissing on the cheek is the most common greeting, and being in someone's personal space too is not as taboo as it is in some other countries. Brazilians tend to be very comfortable when in close proximity to others. Women were actually walking so close to me that they would push into me. It's one of the only places where I had a woman kiss me first. Latin women, in general, have a strong sense of family, are generally more emotional and more possessive, and are raised to be feminine and do girly things and focus on looking good. All winners in my book. Not all Brazilians know English, so that can be a challenge if you don't know any Portuguese. I went on 2 dates with girls that didn't speak a lick of English, which I don't really mind, because they love to touch and body language is all you need. Sweden. Swedish women, despite the fact that they don't wear a lot of makeup, if any, are beautiful, open-minded, adventurous and very friendly. Since Sweden is a prosperous country, the women typically have good jobs and are able to support themselves. To me, it seemed like there were more feminists here than any other country, which makes Swedish girls very open-minded, and it's not uncommon for them to even make the first move. Sex on a first date is pretty common as long as she's into you, of course. Because of the huge emphasis on equality and since they usually have a good job, most Swedes won't expect the man to pay on the first date. But I think it's a nice gesture anyway, but don't be overly insistent. Also, Sweden is really expensive, so keep that in mind as well. Also, keep in mind that Swedes love to drink, so she'll probably drink you under the table. Swedes generally speak softly and calmly. It is rare to witness a Swede demonstrating anger or strong emotion in public, which seems to be the opposite of Latin culture. They also take their personal space very seriously, so don't expect them to be as touchy-feely as Brazilians. And don't give her flowers on the date because it's uncommon for a first date and will just put you in the courting role instead of the potential lover role. Russia. There is this myth floating around that there are a lot more women than men in Russia and Europe. Explain. If you want to date women who are over 80, then Eastern Europe and Russia might be the way to go. It could happen in a particular city if there's an all-women's university. Another myth is that the men look at women as the weaker sex, which is not true at all, but instead women are seen as the prettier sex. Therefore, women do everything they can to always look their best. Don't be surprised if you see a young woman at the grocery store who looks like she's dressed to go clubbing. Unlike in Sweden, where the men can often be a little feminine and the women are more in tune with their masculinity, in Russian culture, you'll see a strong polarity between femininity and masculinity. Women are always expected to look feminine and be reserved. This is why one-night stands are less common. Russian women love a gentleman and they expect the man to charm her into liking him by making romantic gestures, such as buying her flowers, paying for her expenses and buying gifts. It's always expected that the man pays for the dates. Unlike Swedish women who value career, Russian women put love and family above everything else. Most Russians marry in their early 20s. Once a woman hits 25, she'll get a lot of pressure from her family to get married. This is why the bars and even the streets are full of gorgeous young single women, just waiting to be approached. Mexico. Mexico is one of my favorite countries to travel to, not only because of the delicious, not so healthy food, but of course the women. Even though Mexico is a highly religious country, the women seem to be very open-minded and sex doesn't seem to have a huge stigma. Mexican women are also very pretty because, similar to Russia, Mexicans put a great deal of value in appearance and usually dress up for a date. Just like in Brazil, men and women often kiss each other on each cheek as a greeting and stand quite close together while chatting. And this doesn't necessarily mean there is any sexual intent. It's a traditional culture, so you'll be expected to pay for the date and make sure to be a gentleman. If you are a confident male, then you'll do exceptionally well here, as Mexican women, and basically, all women for that matter, love to be approached by a confident, charming man. Serbia. I've taught 2 boot camps in Serbia and I must say the women are definitely some of the most beautiful in the world. And the stereotype that they don't like Americans isn't true. But if you are going here for a short visit hoping for a one-night stand, although it could happen, it's just not that likely because most Serbs are looking for long-term relationships. They are good wife material since they are traditional yet still focus on education and career. Wealth is important to them, and more so than having it, having the appearance of wealth is important. When picking up a Serb, make sure to be dominant with strong eye contact. They are a proud people and are suspicious of anyone breaking eye contact during conversation. Similar to Russians, they take a lot of pride in their homeland, so you will definitely score points by knowing about or showing interest in their country. But keep in mind that Serbian women are masters of leading you on, so even if she's showing you a lot of interest and is talking to you, it doesn't mean she's sexually interested. But definitely check out the nightlife while you are there because Belgrade has some fun bars and cool club on the water. Philippines. The Philippines is where I spend most of my time, because it's super cheap. For example, I have a full-time live-in maid for only $150 a month. Of course, you will find plenty of traditional girls who just want a boyfriend, but a lot of girls are liberated and want to have fun, especially with a non-Asian foreigner. The country's slogan is "It's more fun in the Philippines," and I think it's true. If you are a good-looking white guy, then don't be surprised if girls look at you and smile when you walk by. But it's rare that they will actually approach a guy, unless they are drunk at the club, or a pock. The downside is that they are generally less educated or focused on a career as some of the European countries on my list. They can also be really shy and a little uninteresting on a date with not a lot to talk about, which is pretty common in all of Asia. They might even seem totally uninterested, but really they are just shy. They also tend to get attached easily. So be careful showing too much interest. And don't be surprised if she brings a friend on the date. But it's not always a bad thing. Another plus is that pretty much all Filipinos speak English, since English is a subject they study throughout their schooling. In fact, all the movies are in English with no subtitles. But just like in any country, you do score a few points if you know a few words in their language. Moldova. Moldova, which I've visited twice, is one of the hidden gems of Europe when searching for stunning women, and since it's not known for tourism, because there's not much to do, it's rare that you'll see a lot of other foreigners. So it's easy to get a date because they will be intrigued about your culture and why you came to visit their country. It's a very traditional culture, even more so than Russia, so the courting process is going to take some time. Don't expect a one-night stand. You're going to have to put some effort in. I recommend to be a gentleman and even show up with flowers. If not on the first date, then definitely the third or fourth. It's the poorest country in Europe, so flowers will only cost $1 or $2. Dates typically consist of walking, and this seems to also be true for Russia, Ukraine and Belarus, where even though your date will probably show up in heels, she'll want to go for a walk. Of course, you can stop for food and drinks, but the women love to go for long walks. Now, I've only been to Eastern Europe and Russia in the summer months, so I think it's probably because it's too cold to go on walks in the winter. Unlike the Philippines, where a girl is happy to go back to your air-conditioned condo right away to escape the horrible heat, don't expect a Moldovan to come back to your place on the first or second date. So, Moldova is a terrible place for a quick fling but is a great place to find a beautiful wife. For dating, plan on spending a month or 2 at the minimum. And keep in mind that even in Chisinau there's not a whole lot to do. Which is probably why, according to Wikipedia, Moldova ranks number 2 for alcohol consumption in the entire world, only to be beaten by Belarus, which is another great untapped country full of gorgeous women. Colombia. I bought a condo in Medellin in 2016 and have spent a total of 5 months there, and in all of Latin America, I think Colombians are the most attractive. Colombia still has a very traditional culture when it comes to dating. You'll be expected to pay and be a gentleman. It's also a fairly macho society, similar to Russia, so expect a wider masculine-feminine polarity. Colombian culture is very sexualized, however Colombian women are not particularly fast or easy. I went on 5 dates with a girl in Medellin and she kissed on the first date, but that was the farthest she was willing to go the entire time we hung out. Not all Colombians are that traditional, but either way, make sure to respect their boundaries. Colombian women are also very flaky. Expats there often schedule 2 or 3 dates a night because of the highly likelihood that one of them might flake. Colombians are also very passionate. And because of that passion, they can also get super jealous even on a first date. But that passion and craziness can also be good for other things. Just make sure your dates are fun and exciting. A boring dinner date will get you nowhere. Also make sure to sit side by side because, similar to Brazil, Colombians are very touchy-feely. Definitely visit Colombia because prices are low, there's a lot to do, great restaurants, fantastic culture, and amazingly beautiful women. They put a huge emphasis on beauty here, and if the girl isn't naturally beautiful or curvy, then she'll usually just pay for it. Ukraine. Because of the endless amount of model-like women and affordability, Ukraine is my number 1 pick for meeting beautiful women. There is a reason most mail-order brides come from Ukraine. Just like Moldova and Belarus, Ukrainian dating is more traditional. Dress well, feel free to bring flowers and be a gentleman. Go to a restaurant first and then drinks or a long walk. Unlike Western culture, most Ukrainian women don't talk about sex or sexual topics on a first date. I've had a Ukrainian girl say, "We don't talk about those kinds of things." So what I like to do is take my dates to this BDSM bar in Lvov, which makes it okay to talk about that subject. You will really get a mix here. I've had about 60% super conservative and 40% not so conservative. So you really have the best of both worlds for casual dating as well as serious long-term relationships. And make sure to finish all your alcohol. According to Ukrainian old wives' stories, if you will leave the empty bottle on the table, you may become cursed with poverty. Please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel.